This video is brought to you by Mack Weldon Clothing. The owner's name isn't Mack Weldon, but it should be. The Incredibles 2 is a hugely profitable film, so it makes sense that I would want to make a video about it to piggyback off its success in order to scoop up some of that residual money. I mean, to be fair, I do love making Easter egg videos. Sure, they're a lot of hard work, but it's like figuring out a puzzle, except at the end, you don't have like a picture of the Eiffel Tower or some garbage like that, because who cares? If I wanted a picture of the Eiffel Tower, I'd just Google it. But regardless, this video is going to look at new and returning characters, links to the first movie, Pixar Easter eggs, and more things. These are all those things. Time codes are in the description if you want to jump around a bit. Alright, let's do a YouTube video. Okay, so the timeline of this film, which we'll get back to in a bit in terms of what year it's set, is that it follows up immediately after the first, with the Underminer attacking the city. He's voiced by John Ratzenberger, who you may know as this random dude from Empire Strikes Back, but also Cliff from Cheers, as well as Ham from Toy Story, P.T. Flea from A Bug's Life, the Abominable Snowman from Monsters Inc., the Moonfish from Finding Nemo, Mac from Cars, Mustafa from Ratatouille, John from Wall-E, Tom from Up, Gordon from Brave, Fritz from Inside Out, Earl from The Good Dinosaur, Bill from Finding Dory, and Juan from Coco. Yeah, he's been in every Pixar movie in case that wasn't clear. Ambassador Henrietta Selick is a nod to animation director Henry Selick, plus the original voice of Jack Jack. That kid is now 16, and he's also the son of one of the animators. This time around though, they used archival recordings for his dialogue. In terms of the first movie, Edna, voiced by director Brad Bird, mentions Jack Jack likes Mozart. The babysitter we previously saw appeared to have used Mozart.
I also brought Mozart to play where he sleeps to make him smarter because leading experts say Mozart makes babies smarter.
To accidentally kick the cognitive door open to his powers, as that's when they began to manifest. These powers include pyrokinesis, shapeshifting, phasing, enhanced strength, levitation, teleportation, laser vision, self-duplication, size manipulation, plastic mimicry, dimensional travel, molecular vibration, wall crawling, and electrokinesis. The device used to wipe the memory of Tony Reidinger was also seen in the short film where we witness his powers unlocked, called Jack Jack Attack. Again, we get not only the new Incredibles costumes, but also some classic ones. Dash assists an old lady, just like we've seen Mr. Incredible do. The Incredibles doc that opened the first movie is seen very briefly on TV. We get a short glimpse of this Mr. Incredible doing our part poster that's all packed up after they move. And we also see that Elastigirl's piloting abilities extend to helicopters also. In Winston's superhero presentation, one of the images features Frozone fighting Syndrome's robot. Speaking of Frozone, he and his wife still appear to hate each other. So that's consistent.
I'll be there ASAP.
Where you going ASAP? You better be back ASAP.
You tell me where my suit is, woman!
The Incredible returns. In the new movie, we see that it's got a hydro mode, which was actually hinted at in the first movie. We also see the auto mode, but not hover mode as of yet. We do, however, get its ejector seat feature, first employed to remove Kid Syndrome from the car. Dash is wearing a t-shirt that says number 2. Since this movie is set right after the first, it makes sense that they're all wearing the same clothing from that. Also, Gazer Beam is seen in a flashback sequence when he gives Winston and Evelyn's parents a direct phone line to him, which ends up being the reason they're killed. There was also another superhero present, but I didn't catch who it was. If you do know, please let me know. Sorry to give you homework. You absolutely don't have to do it. But remember, if you don't do your homework, you owe me $150,000. Alright, timeline. Now, considering the technology present in this film, it's been assumed that this movie must take place in some kind of alternate reality modern day. But a newspaper from the first film states that that film, and subsequently the next film, are set in 1962, and potentially also 1963, depending how long Mr. Incredible's weight loss training montage goes for. But then again, that movie probably doesn't bleed into 1963, seeing as the paper is from May, and Jack Jack doesn't age at all in the film. But in the new film, we see the TV shows The Outer Limits, as well as Johnny Quest.
I want the boys, Benton, full time. I've raised them, and I think it's only fair.
Race, you're tired. The Adventure of the Yeti Snow Princess.
Oh.
Ow, ow, ow.
I'm taking the boys, Benton.
These shows originally aired in the fall of 1964, which is obviously impossible. What kind of nonsensical, contradictory timeline are we working with here? Also, that means the first Incredibles must open in 1947 if you take into account the 15-year time jump. Absolute nonsense. But at the same time, Brad Bird has previously stated, I probably wouldn't have put 1962 on the newspaper if I thought thought it would get read out. I didn't even know they did that. I just wanted it to feel like the 60s. So the real answer to when this movie is set is that it isn't, and who cares? Do you like Pixar movies? I know I do. Well, you know, some of them, not all of them. Though to be fair, I've never seen a terrible one, but also I've never seen Cars 2. I also haven't seen Planes, and I know technically Planes isn't a Pixar film, but I'm blaming Pixar for that one. Planes came out in 2013, meaning at the very least it was influenced by both Cars 1 and 2, plus it is considered a spin-off to Cars by Disney, and it was co-written by Johnny the Hands Lasseter. But I digress. Incredibles 2 was supposed to come out 15 years after the last. And it bloody would have too if the announcement of Toy Story 4 hadn't happened. The film that the Parr family are going to see at the end of the movie, that's called Dementia A113. That's a nod to Francis Ford Coppola's movie Dementia 13, but also Classroom A113 from the California Institute of Arts, which is a local school in which many Pixar filmmakers studied. And A113 pops up in a number of Pixar films. Also, the clouds used in The Good Dinosaur were apparently so good and groundbreaking, more like sky-breaking, am I right? But they were so good that the template for them was used in this film. The Chinese takeout boxes here have appeared multiple times in Pixar films. Apparently the box is so groundbreaking that the template had to be used again and again. Jack's crib, you might have noticed, has the Pixar ball design worked into it. That ball is also a recurring Easter egg in a bunch of Pixar films, and maybe even Planes, because I'm blaming Pixar for Planes, if you remember. The Pizza Planet truck apparently appears again, though this time it's said to be redesigned to fit the retro look of this 1960s or is it universe. Apparently also it's very hard to spot, but I think I've found it. Check this out. It's the gnome I put in sometimes. Very good. Oh, do you hear that? I believe that's the sponsorship bell. That means I am legally required to do a sponsored insert. I don't make the rules, I just follow the bell. Don't shoot the messenger, even if he or she edited in the sound of the bell in the hope that people watching don't realize that it was actually their idea to put the sponsor in. Mack Weldon are a quality clothing company that have sweet looking hoodies, underwear, undershirts, t-shirts, polos, socks, sweats, which are all famously antimicrobial, which basically means you can wear them all day, sometimes multiple days, and they smell great and not like, really horrible. They also fit really well. 100% they are my favorite t-shirt. I got a stack of them. So if you like clothing that's really not terrible at all and lasts ages and they don't get all stretched out and weird or fade easily, visit mackweldon.com and use the offer code Mr. Sunday Movies for 20% off your purchase. All of that is linked below. There's also nods to other TV shows and movies within Incredibles 2, some of which, yes, I've already mentioned.
I'm taking the boys, Benton.
But also the actor who voices Mr. Incredible, Craig T. Nelson, also played a father of a kid who traveled into another dimension in a little film called The Family Stone. I mean Poltergeist. It's said that Einstein was a patent clerk, which is a nod to this scene from Ghostbusters.
Einstein did his best stuff when he was working as a patent clerk.
Winston's house was modeled off one in the 1959 film North by Northwest. There's a hidden tilted Mickey Mouse scene in the Screenslayer's hypnosis situation, and the train stopping sequence seems very similar to the one from Spider-Man 2. And speaking of superheroes, pick any superpowered character and chances are their powers or their look is based off a previously created hero or villain, whether it be Fantastic Four, Cyclops, Iceman, Robert Downey Jr. The list goes on, and I definitely made that list, but I'm just choosing not to include it. Other references include this painting representing Elastigirl being separate from her family for a lot of the film. Bob Parr's style is based off Paul Newman. Helen Parr's is based off Mary Tyler Moore, Marilyn Monroe, and Audrey Hepburn. The Safari Court Inn that becomes the family's hideout is based off the Safari Inn that's located near Disney Studios. Evelyn's look is based off Diane Keaton, Annie Lennox, Yoko Ono, and Patti Smith. And Edna Mode's two costumes were loosely inspired by Italian fashion designer Schiaparelli. Look, I'm not Italian, all right? What do you want from me? But lastly, this one's going to come back in the future. Set supervisor Nathan Farris. Set supervisor? What set? You know what? Doesn't matter. It's probably a virtual thing. Anyway, he's mentioned that there's actually a reference to Toy Story 4, a movie that at the time this video is coming out is not out. But if you are watching this in the future and you've seen Toy Story 4, I just want you to know that I've been murdered and it was Nick Mason. This Easter egg though, we're still not exactly sure what it is, and apparently it's not going to make any sense until Toy Story 4 is in cinemas. It's said that in The Incredibles 2 you might see it and go, what the hell is that? and then just move on. So let's all do literally nothing until we know what it is. I'm sorry, I can't just do nothing. I've got to wrap this video up and then I've got to record the podcast. I've got a family as well. It's a whole thing. Look, okay. Do you have an Easter egg from this movie that I've missed? Because Pixar are great at hiding this stuff. Or maybe if you don't, you want to equate one of the superheroes from this movie with a comic book counterpart from other media. You know, because I decided not to include that list that I definitely did make, but as mentioned, I chose not to include it. Also, it'd be great if you could leave a like and maybe a subscribe and a bell icon. That would absolutely be fine with me. And also there's videos here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Plus I have a podcast called The Weekly Planet where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. This Monday we're talking The Incredibles 2, how it stacks up to the first, and just superhero movies in general. That's all linked below, but you can also find it compiled at the great planetbroadcasting.com. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care. Pachoo.